Hello, this is a quick video to talk about conditional statements in Java. When we're creating programs, there will always be conditions where we need to make a decision. And that can be represented in many different ways. Here in this flowchart, we can see a very simple program. We have a starting point. We'll ask user for a temperature in Celsius. And then the computer needs to make a decision. If the temperature is greater than 0, the diamond shape is always decision. So if the temperature is greater than 0, then the screen should display, let's go golfing. If temperature is less than 0, it should display, let's go skiing. And then the program will end. So let's take a look at how we can create that in Java. So I'm going to go to NetBeans, and let's create a new project. So it's Java, we're going to create a new application, and let's call it the if statement. Okay. Clean up our template a little here, and I'll make font a little bigger for everyone to read. Okay, so the code's going to go here. So let's take a look at our flowchart again. So in our flowchart, the first thing it says is, let's ask the user for the temperature in Celsius. So to do that, there's many different ways, but for our simple little program today, we're going to use something called a scanner. So we'll introduce a scanner. I'm going to call this object the keyboard, and we'll create a new instance of the scanner here. Now you can see when I've created this that NetBeans is underlying the word scanner. Scanner is a type of class in Java, but it doesn't know what to do with it. It's underlined in red. So if I go over to the light bulb here, it says cannot find symbol. So that means you've defined something, but I don't know what it is. If I left click on this light bulb, I can see add import for java.util.scanner. And the nice thing about working in NetBeans is that I don't have to actually remember this specific path. It knew it for me, but we do have to include this import statement for it to work correctly. Now you can see that NetBeans is happy. So now we have a scanner object called keyboard that will allow us to solicit user information. So let's just print a simple thing to the screen. Okay. So when you're printing things to the screen, you should always be cognitive of what it's going to look like for your user. You should always give them a prompt so that they know what type of information you're looking for. And I usually like to leave the cursor right at the end of the my prompt. I don't like to go to a new line because that can sometimes be confusing. So now let's we need to store that temperature in something. So I'm going to use an integer, and I'm going to call it temp outside. So I'm going to say the temp outside is equal to, and this is where we need the user to provide us this information. So I'm going to use our keyboard object, and when I push the decimal at the end of that, it's going to show me all of the methods that are available to a scanner object. But more importantly, what it does is also showing me at the very top here all the ones that return things that are acceptable for an integer object, or an integer variable. So we can see next byte, next int, right? Next short. I'm going to use next int. So I'm going to, whatever integer the person enters in the keyboard, pass it to my variable called temp outside. So now we can make our decisions. So if temp outside is greater than 0, let's system.out.print let's go golfing. Now, depending on the implementation of your version of NetBeans or Eclipse or what have you, the IE may or may not want you to use these opening and closing brackets. If you only have one line of code, it will usually work without the brackets. else. So we're basically saying if it's greater than 0, we'll go golfing. If it's less than or equal to 0, then we should go skiing. Okay, then that's the end of our if statement. Just little comments. Sometimes I find them helpful when you're building bigger pieces of code to know what each of these closing brackets is, because as you can see, they start to get pretty nested. So let's run our program and see what it does. So we run it. It says, please enter the current temperature in Celsius. So current temperature today in Celsius, I believe we're supposed to get up to 18. It says, let's go golfing. Well, I think that's a good decision. I'm going to go give that a try. Thanks very much for watching. I hope this helped.